Hey everyone, it's Dave Berman from ManifestPositivity.org. Another Skype interview today with Joreth, the founder and director of the Poly Media Association. Good afternoon, Joreth. How are you?
Yes. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you talking to me and actually welcoming me to the Speakers Bureau of sorts. Why don't you tell us what the Poly Media Association is?
Well, the Polyamory Media Association is a project of the Poly Leadership Network. Our function is, what we want to do is we wish to bridge the gap between the poly community and the media. We want to provide media training so that poly folk have more control in how they're presented to the public. And we want to guide the media towards those poly folk who are interested in talking to them.
I really like that approach. It's totally consistent with the advocacy journalism style of ManifestPositivity.org.
Mm-hmm.
So how long has the PMA been around?
Well, I started working on the project 2 years ago, but it was officially launched in March of this year, and we debuted at the Poly Leadership Summit meeting, which took place just after the Lovingmore Conference, the Lovingmore East Conference in Philadelphia.
And how many people are a part of the PMA so far, and what are some of the key accomplishments since you've launched?
Well, one of our major accomplishments is that within days of going live, we started getting media requests. The media is looking for polyamorous people to interview. We have a fairly small staff, and we are always interested in additional help, but our database continues to grow. It's still a little bit small right now, but it's growing daily as we get more and more people who are interested in talking about polyamory.
And as a new person signed up for being part of the team, of the PMA team, so to speak, I was really impressed with the training materials that you have to help people feel prepared to speak to the media or be represented through visual media, to present themselves through their own websites and so forth. It's really well done.
Thank you.
So who else should consider signing up, and what are some of the advantages or benefits that people might consider as their reason for wanting to become part of this?
Well, anyone who's interested in educating the public about polyamory or affecting social change towards a more welcoming and inclusive society for people in alternative relationships, any of those people should consider signing up with us. Speakers can find media opportunities through us as we keep getting more requests, and novice speakers can get the training that you were just talking about that so few people really have, and that training will turn them into more experienced speakers, which will benefit not only them but the community as a whole.
So what are the top things about polyamory that you always make a point to emphasize, outside of the training, just as a person living a poly lifestyle?
Well, the first thing that I emphasize about polyamory is responsibility. Responsibility for health, like safer sex issues, and responsibility towards the feelings and the dignity of the other members in the relationship. I then like to cover a wide range of people and personality types, because one of my favorite things is to help break stereotypes and assumptions. And I like to challenge my listeners to re-examine their assumptions, both about other people and about their own relationships. The next thing that I would probably talk about would be the benefits of polyamory as compared to monogamous relationships. And then I like to contrast that with the difficulties of polyamory in such a way as to show that the difficulties are not really anything different than monogamous relationships.
It's true. I mean, I think, in the poly community have maybe even a greater commitment than people who are monogamous to maintaining healthy and open communication, just because it is so demanding, really, to be able to nurture and maintain healthy relationships, that's such a key part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that a big part of that is also that our relationships are more intentional. So we might not necessarily have a greater commitment, although I personally think that some of us do, but I think that we are more intentionally committed to these sorts of things, whereas a lot of our culture is all about the default and just falling into patterns.
Yeah, good point. So, who are some of the other poly organizations that PMA works with, particularly media entities, but just more in general too?
Well, we have some other organizations that are poly-specific. We originally started out as a support group for Loving More, who traditionally handles all of the media. So we work with board members from Loving More because they already paved the road, so to speak, in this direction. We also work with members from the National Coalition of Sexual Freedom, which is not poly-specific, but has very close ties with the poly community. We work with one of the leaders of the Sex Workers Awareness Organization, which is another alternative relationship or alternative sexuality marginalized group who has a great deal of experience in media training. And now, of course, we hope to be working with Manifest Positivity.
That's great. I definitely see a great synergy between what PMA is doing, and I want to hold up PMA as an example of advocacy journalism, essentially being proactive about using media as a tool to create the world that we want to see, which in this case has to do with understanding and acceptance of Loving More. I mean, what a great name that is. Why don't you talk a little bit more about Loving More and some of the other resources that you recommend for people who are new or curious about polyamory?
Well, Loving More is one of the biggest resources that's out there. They had an actual paper magazine about polyamory for a good long time. I think they recently just quit the paper circulation, but it's still available as an online newsletter. And as I said, because of their size, they are the most visible outlet to the media, and they have the most experience in dealing with the media. So that's a wonderful resource. Resources that I personally like to recommend, just for learning about polyamory, not necessarily media, is Tacit's website, of course, online, Zeromag, xeromag.com/fvpoly.html. I have my own website, so naturally I recommend that, and that's at the In-Between, that's in with two N's like a hotel, theinbetween.com/poly1.html. So there are a lot of good websites out there with a lot of information, and of course in both my website and Tacit's website and in Loving More's website there are there's a page with a list of other resources that we all recommend.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing to me as a relative newcomer to the poly community to see just how much networking there really is and how kind of cross-promoted so many of the people and their projects are. It's very encouraging, particularly from the perspective of someone who's devoted to advocacy journalism. So thanks for taking the time to talk with me today and welcoming me into the PMA community. I know we'll be working together more. Is there anything else you'd like to add today for the Manifest Positivity audience before I let you go?
Well, I would like to thank you, Dave, for putting together Manifest Positivity. As the founder of PMA, clearly I'm in favor of a more proactive approach towards using the tools of the media to further social change. And with the internet culture, more and more people are taking control of how they're presented through journals, blogs, YouTube videos, personal podcasts, and the past methods of the distributing media are losing their stranglehold on the public. So I think this is a great time in our history for grabbing the reins of the media for ourselves to show the diversity of our culture, and through that to change our society for a more tolerant society and welcoming of that diversity. So thank you for all of your work.
Yeah, you're singing my tune. Thank you very much. Joreth from the Poly Media Association, polymediaassociation.com. We will talk again soon.
All right.